get started, everybody. This is James Davis. He's going to talk to you today about some mobile homes and self-storage. He's an expert in that area and a lot of other areas. But yeah, James, welcome and go ahead.
Okay. As Bill said, I'm the expert in three asset classes, affectionately known as the cash cows, guys. You can make a heck of a lot more money in one of the cash cows that I have, which is self-storage, mobile home parks, and RV parks, than a multifamily property. And I'm on the leadership committee at eXp Commercial in that area. And as Bill said, I've lived in Austin for 40 years. So if anybody's in Austin, I can take care of you guys any of your clients from multifamily to office, retail. The only classes that I don't feel comfortable with in Austin and San Antonio is restaurants and businesses. All right. So anyway, I'm a lifelong Texan. I grew up in Southeast Texas, Port Neches, Texas to be exact, and they still have the name of their mascot is the Port Neches Groves Indians. It's Cajun country, Texas Cajun country, about 30 miles from the Louisiana border. I can get to Lake Charles in about 50 or 60 minutes. And I've lived in Austin since 1982. That's a long time. I've seen lots of changes, right? And I was pretty athletic in high school. I was on the tennis team. And since then, I've ran 3 half marathons. My wife has done almost 20 full marathons. So I'm spending my life looking at her in the front view mirror instead of the rear view mirror. And I used to bicycle about 150 miles a week. For about 10 years. I actually rode my bike from Lake Tahoe to Ashland, Oregon. It was hilly. It's 325 miles in 5 days. I have a Bachelor of Science degree in electrical engineering from Lamar University in Beaumont, Texas. I'm a rare engineer. I can speak sometime. I'm not the best speaker in the world, but I can talk, right? So I was in the semiconductor business from 1979 to 2001. I was a quality and reliability engineer with MasTec, Motorola, and Crystal Semiconductor that got bought out by Cirrus Logic. So as I first joined eXp Commercial as number 200, I was employee number 66 at Crystal Semiconductor, and they now have over 1,000 employees at Cirrus Logic, which they got bought out, I don't know, late 80s or whatever. Okay, so anyway, I've done 40 deals personally. So I'm more of an investor than an agent, but I love mentees, and I'm looking for some mentees right now. So I've done 40 deals representing $40 million in buys and sells as an investor, and those were mostly all my deals. I've done some JVs, but not much syndication. I'd like to understand how that works. And I've owned over 300 doors, and I still own 170 doors. A door is a unit, so my doors are mostly self-storage and mobile home parks, and I have a short-term rental in Fredericksburg, Texas, which is about 70 miles west of Austin. So I tell people all the time I'm going to be the Colonel Sanders of real estate. I'm 65 years old, but man, I'm working 15, 16 hours a day trying to reach financial freedom myself, and I want to help some other people reach financial freedom with real estate investments and as well as the revenue share program with eXp. So all three asset classes, self-storage, mobile home communities, and RV parks, in all likelihood, boom in the next several years. I've seen zero slowdown in people that would like to participate in this type of asset class. It's almost counter-cyclical. As the recession gets worse, I assume everybody thinks we're in a recession, but if not, let's just say as times get a little bit worse, the mobile home park, self-storage, and RV park business gets a little bit better. I say it's almost recession-proof, but you can't say that anything's recession-proof because somebody will sue you when you lose $1, right? So self-storage is consolidating now as it's the most accepted asset class in these three asset classes, but it's consolidating because there's actually been some new build moratoriums in Fort Worth, Texas. That's DFW. It's the smallest little 11th largest city in the nation that you don't know about because it's always DFW, right? And as people get older and downsize, more people will find a place to store their cherished goods. I say that Americans are put tongue-in-cheek. They're pack rats, right? So they got to put some of their precious junk there, right? In my opinion, the hot, unsung sub-asset class in the self-storage space is the covered RV space. Okay, in self-storage, you have climate-controlled self-storage, non-climate-controlled self-storage, open-air parking spots that can be with concrete or asphalt, My self-storage that I have in College Station, we'll talk about a little bit more, is a B class. It's just got crushed granite on it. So I charge $60 for a person to park their RV there. And in other areas, you may even get $100 a space just for a piece of dirt with no improvements except for some crushed gravel. And then you have what I think is the easiest, most best path to making some good money is the covered RV storage. There's two covered RV storages types. One is fully enclosed with a door, 12 by 12 door. The other is, as the name sort of implies, it's covered. It's got the self-storage space that I have in College Station. It's covered. It's 50 feet wide by 125 feet long. I have 10 spots there, and I have a sheet metal around the three sides and the sheet metal on the top, and it's 14 or 16 feet wide on the edge and 18 in the center. So, as you guys should have noticed, there's tons and tons of RV parks on the road, and people during COVID, they said, hey, I can't go anywhere. I'm going to go buy me a $200,000 to $500,000 RV. So if you got something that's $500,000, you don't want to leave it out in the rain and all the other things. I guess might leave yours out in the snow there, huh, Bill? So anyway, the recent Texas Self-Storage Association luncheon, it's every 3 months, and they probably have these in every state. I know they have them every quarter in Texas in the major cities. An owner of a large covered storage facility said his turnover was 3. That's out of 600. That's a 0.5% turnover. Also, there's a self-storage, covered RV storage in Scott, Louisiana, which is just east of Lafayette. It's a much smaller place. And this was several years ago that I was looking on LoopNet. The guy collected rents in January and July for half a year, and if you left, you got no refund. So it's a very, very stable sub-asset class of the self-storage scenario. And the average climate-controlled or non-climate-controlled self-storage client stays about 11 months. So it's about 10% per month. There's really a shortage of these covered RV storages if you think about it, because the self-storage industry is traditionally been a mom and pop, but it's getting taken over by the Blackstones and the Morgan Stanleys and the Goldman Sachses of the world, and they want to maximize their money. I'm a proponent of maximizing my time. You know, these guys at Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs and Blackstone have a huge staff. I have a lady that works for me on my self-storage in College Station. She is actually in Tel Aviv, Israel now, so it's a totally hands-off business, and you could do the same thing with an RV park and a mobile home park as well. Technology wins. And all you need to run self-storage, and if you think about it, an RV park or a mobile home park that is run like an RV park that is run like a mobile home park, you need somebody to mow the grass. And in self-storage, I got a guy mowing the grass, and I also have a person doing a lock check. That's to make sure that the actual tenants that have locks there is in agreement with the storage software. There's tons and tons of software tools that are available for self-storage, and I'm going to talk more self-storage because I have more familiarity with that. My mobile home park that I have in Fayetteville, Arkansas, it's run by somebody else, but you can pretty much put the same headlines, names after it. When I say self-storage, I mean self-storage mobile home parks or RV parks that are run like a mobile home park where you have a significant subset of the tenants that are living there long term.
So there's a question in here. How much do you get for a spot for RV spots? How much do you charge?
My self-storage in College Station, I get for covered RV storage, open air RV storage, I get $60. And for a covered RV storage, I get $160. That's without electricity, and $190 with electricity. However, I've been looking at putting a covered RV storage in the Fayetteville area, and there seems to be a much, much higher demand or less supply, because you can get for an equivalent covered RV storage, you can get $400. So it really depends on where the asset is. And what I do my price checking, there's a consolidator called Sparefoot, right? So you get on Sparefoot and put in 77845, which happens to be my area code in College Station, and then you put in covered RV storage, climate controlled or non-climate controlled storage, and you get some numbers from there. But in the mobile home park and RV park business, it's much, much different. So there's no consolidators for those. And really, when you look at mobile home parks, many of them have no website at all. And the ones that do have websites don't have any pricing on it. So that's only one area that I can think that is different in those three asset classes. So it really depends. And in Austin, there are very, very few covered RV spots, and I can't even find any. There's some that are within 30 miles from here, and I don't know the pricing of them because, in my opinion, Austin is too high priced. I'd rather go to another sub-asset class. I mean, College Station is 2 hours from me, and I drove up and back on Friday, talked to a GC, and I've also talked to a bank to try to get my self-storage in College Station expanded. So everybody else is saying, let's back off, but anticipating we'll go into a recession. However, several weeks ago, I went to College Station because you can't get anybody on the phone now, right? So I went and I talked to a couple of people. I found two people that had units available, but they were the enclosed units. So basically, the price of the CubeSmart there, which was a very, very A-class, they had concrete. So they had their covered RV storages were $225. Mine is $190 or $160 because it's not quite as fancy, but it's not near as expensive. Crushed granite costs a heck of a lot less than full-on concrete. And the price of a fully enclosed self-storage with a 12 by 12 door on it was $325. So being cognizant of that, I haven't got the print yet, but this guy that I talked to is a GC. We're going to make them where you can make them covered RV storage, or we can make them where you can put a door on them. It's going to require a little bit of space, so you can go with the times, right? I'm going to be putting 30 to 40 covered RV storages on my self-storage there in College Station. I have 4.5 acres. Straub Road is going to be widened to 3 lanes, and only 1 to 1.5 acres is currently being used with the traditional non-climate controlled self-storage and some parking spots and 10 covered RV spots. So it really depends on its market dependence, just like everything else. Bill, do you know what your covered RV storage space is in Salt Lake?
I don't, no.
Okay, but now you know how to find out. You go to Sparefoot.
I do. That's right.
Okay, that's right. So you just have to do that. And Sparefoot's not 100%. You may have to go, you can Google. The whole world is on Google, right? There's many, many things on that phone that I wish I would have known that phones were going to be quite so valuable. They have so many tools with them, right? But anyway, so you use Sparefoot, and then you get on Google and you search for covered RV storages in Salt Lake City, and then you find out, look at ones that have websites, and some of them will have pricing on them, and some of them will not. So you need to get, you need to have 4 or 5 prices, I'm thinking, just to make sure that the standard deviation is not too high.
And storage is big business here, James. I'm telling you, because we have so many lakes.
Yes.
And there are boats everywhere and stuff. So, yeah, I thought about getting into it. I just never dived into it. This is good stuff.
Well, Bill, you might want to partner with an expert.
Yes, I wonder who that is.
I think his name is James, but don't call him Jim, right? So basically, 4-story, there's a shortage of those parking facilities. In Bryan College Station, there's not as many lakes. So my mix in my 57 units there is probably 50 RVs and 7 boats. Probably could be a lot different in Salt Lake. And certainly it would be different in Austin if there are probably some covered RV storages around Lake Travis. So you have to understand the nuances of each of those self-storages. And I will say that covered RV storage, my return on my place in College Station was, I've spent $100,000 on 10. It's up a little bit more on 10 units, and my return is $16,800 per year. So that's 17% return, not including the land. And again, it's very, 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 I can't emphasize how many varies it is. It's stable. Okay, now we're going to talk a little bit about the other asset classes. And
hey, James, there's a quick question in here. What is the standard dimensions for RV parking?
Just parking. You want to be just open air parking. You want to make sure that you have enough room in between the two places to open a door. So the standard RV spacing is 12.5 feet. That's open air or covered RV storage. Now, the enclosed RV it's going to be 14 to 16 feet because you've got a sidewall there, a wall on each side, so you can't just open up to air there, right? So it's 12 and a half for open air or covered RV storage, and the enclosed is going to be 14 to 16 feet. And you need to, on an enclosed one, you want to make sure that you cover all of the big rigs. You got to have maybe 16 feet on the eave and 18 feet on the center. And I have a couple of RVs in my covered RV storage in Wellborn Self-Storage that take up almost all of the 50 feet in width or length, if you want to call it. Okay, so mobile home communities are very difficult to build in any jurisdiction. They have that NIMBY attitude, not in my backyard, right? But you can update them. They're grandfathered in, right? So typically you can update them. And with the widening of the demographics from the earning standpoints, they're in great demand. The average mobile home tenant stays for 11 and a half years. That is even more consistent probably than the covered RV storage. But the other thing about a mobile home park is that the mobile homes are not that mobile, okay? It takes $5,000 to $8,000 to move them, right? So therefore, you can raise the rent $50 to $100 a month without fear that the lower demographic client's going to be able to come up with $6,000 a month, $6,000 and move it. If your price is competitive, there's no reason for them to move anyway. And I'll give you an example of a park that I was looking at in Fayetteville, Arkansas, that it justifies a possible $200 a month raise in the rents. But you don't want to do that all at one time. So also the economics for the end buyer are very attractive. If you're going to be living in an apartment complex all your life because you can't afford a $1,500 a month rent or what's the average, say $300,000 house, there are some attractive reasons for going into the mobile home park arena as well as the RV park. Very similar statistics there from a demographic standpoint. So I have a piece of property, it was a piece of raw land in Kyle, which is about 20 miles south of Austin, and there happens to be a Roberts Community. Roberts Community is a large owner out of Phoenix, Arizona. It's just to the south of the lot that I had, 24-acre lot that I have. So we've sold all but 7.9 acres, but there's a 300-unit apartment complex there, and then the Roberts Community is probably it's bigger in size, but it's only one story, but it has almost identical amenities. Basketball court, everything. It's just, they're both Class A, very Class A. The Roberts Communities had single-wide mobile homes. You could put it single-wide, park model RVs in there, or, the reason you don't want to put a double-wide is because you can't charge double the price. Say a typical mobile home park, RV park is 40 to 50 feet wide, and if you go double-wide, you may get, let's say you may get $500 a month for a mobile home park in a spot in Kyle. And those are, again, dependent upon the location. There is a mobile home, there's a tiny home park, which is a nuance, is a park model RV park, which is, I walk by it every day. It's about half a mile from where I live, $1,000 per month. It's slow in filling up, partially because I don't think the guy uses digital marketing. He's got a sign out there, says email this guy. He doesn't have a website. He doesn't hit him up with Facebook or Google Ads or anything like that. If I had that park, I think it would have been full 3 or 4 months ago. So the apartment this was data that's several years, maybe 3 years old, right? The apartment was 700 square feet, 1 bedroom for $925. The Roberts Community single wides mobile homes, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, approximately 1,000 to 1,200 square feet, $400 lot rent, and $523 for the mortgage. So you could have a full family of 4 to 6 could stay an RV or mobile home park that is very, very equivalent to what the 3-story apartment that was adjacent to there. And for some reason, at that time, they were amortizing the mortgages over 23 years. I think they've gone to 25 or 27, 25 or 30 years now. So, and if you're paying $923 and having a single wide mobile home with a lot rent, you got a place to park your truck, you got a place to either keep your dog or barbecue and beer, all of the above, because they're 50 feet wide, and the typical single wide is going to be, mobile home is going to be 15 to 16 foot wide, and an RV park is going to be 12 to 14 feet wide. As the baby boomers age, they will all, in all probability, be forced to liquidate their highest value asset, their current home, to ensure that their money will not outlast their life expectancy. Actually, My wife runs marathons, as I mentioned before, and I tend to get up at 5:30 in the morning, and there's very few places that are open at 6 o'clock in the morning. So I go and have breakfast at this place called Dan's Barbecue, and this gentleman and I got into conversation. I guess I'm not a very shy engineer, but anyway, so he told me that he lived in South Austin, that all of his friends and family, close friends, were moving. They're selling their house and moving to Bastrop, which is 25 miles to the southeast of Austin, and they're living in an RV park. So there's proof to the pudding that what I said. Okay, and I don't know how many of you guys know Sam Zell, but he's worth probably a little bit more than Bill and I put together. His net worth is $5.67 billion, and he was once the largest office holdings as well as the largest retail holdings. I think he sold the retail holdings to Blackstone several years ago. Now he's the largest holder of mobile home communities and RV parks, publicly traded REIT, Real Estate Investment Trust, with the symbol of ELS. ELS is one, and there's probably 3 or 4 REITs that are in that category. One is Sun Communities, SUI, and there's probably a couple of more that are not 100% familiar with the names of them. Okay. RV parks are easier to get approved in a larger city or destination area. That's because most city council people, mayors, et cetera, they are not bright as some of us in this room, right? So, because they're looking at, hey, I'm going to have somebody staying here on Friday and Saturday night or whatever. But I looked at an RV park in Hutto, which is about 20 miles north of Austin, and I looked at the rent roll, and these guys had lived there for 5 years. Everybody, almost everybody, 100% of them. And then I had an opportunity to look at that rent roll 3 to 4 years later, and they were all still there. So Mark Dautzer, he's a Texas A&M University Real Estate Center economic expert, said RV parks are the new affordable housing. I choose to use the word attainable housing because affordable housing has negative connotations, in my opinion. Section 8 kind of stuff, right? So there is a tiny home movement around. Anybody want to move to a tiny home? Boom, boom, boom. I don't know if anybody's raising their hand here, but if I was going to move into a tiny home, I would have to get 2, one for me and one for my wife. A tiny home is from 200 square feet to 1,000 square feet. The misnomer that is placed on tiny homes is less than 400 square feet. Those are called park model RVs. You have no real estate tax on them if they're less than 400 square feet. But you could get a 550 square foot single wide mobile home if that's what you needed. And the economics are much the same. And actually, you could probably get a single wide mobile home for a little bit less expensive than a park model RV. So again, tiny homes are 200 square feet and maybe even lower than that to 800 to 1,000 square feet. But you have 2 sub-assets that are with that. A high percentage of these asset classes, RV parks and mobile home parks, are owned by mom and pops. Self-storage is still a mom and pop industry, but not near as much as RV parks and mobile home parks. I'm a mom and pop. I own Wellborn Self-Storage in College Station. I own a park that has no name in Lowell, Arkansas, which is between Fayetteville and Bentonville. It's on 317 Eastside Place in Lowell if anybody wants to check it out. Okay, there's no website. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example of what can happen to a mom and pop operation, that if you come across one of these, you need to buy it. If you can't buy it, come see me. We'll figure out a way to get it. Okay, there's a park in Fayetteville, Arkansas. It was 25 spots. I could have picked it up for $850K. I didn't have all the tools that I have at EXP Commercial, so I couldn't get a loan because it was ugly. Bankers are crazy. The uglier, the better for me. So it was an 8 cap, and once you cleaned up the park and raised the rents were $225. The market rents for $425. So that's $200 you could have raised the rent. So you got an income stream. 200 times 25 times 12 is $60,000, and then you have maybe another $5,000 in expenses by property taxes. So $55,000 divided by an 8 cap, you just increase the value of that property by $687,500, which is almost double the original price. Okay, and this old guy, I was looking at parks in that area because they were in a qualified opportunity zone, and this guy was the only guy of 4 parks that were in that area that was still alive. All the other ones had passed away. They were in their 80s. This guy was 92 years old, actually 92 years young. He built the property in 40 years ago. Also, I will say that he was also a self-storage owner as well. All three of these asset classes have very nice loan programs, either 25 or 30 years and fixed for the entire period. With RV parks and mobile home and self-storage, you can get a 10% down SBA loan, and they have some attractives. And with mobile home parks, you have some HUD money, CMBS money. It's got to be over $1 million. Okay. Also, I mentioned that I was an electrical engineer, and I'm once an engineer, always an engineer. Like Bill, once a Harley driver, always a Harley driver, right? So the technology is eliminating the necessity for on-site workers, right? So anyway, my self-storage, I've already told you this, but I want to emphasize it again. My self-storage in College Station, contactless, well before the pandemic occurred, because I only had 100 units. And with 10% turnover, you got 8 or 10 people that are going to turn over every month, and you're going to have somebody working there 170 hours a week. It's not worth it at all, right? So, and I actually, RV parks and self-storage, you're renting, with an RV park or mobile home community, you're renting a piece of dirt. So it's almost like having X amount of triple net land leases. In my opinion, you don't really want to have a mobile home park or RV park where they are park-owned homes, because as you can imagine, the quality of a mobile home park, a mobile home and an RV is not quite as good as a stick-built home, so you have much, much more repairs, right? That's my opinion. That's a lot of experts' opinion, but there's no reason you can't do whatever you like to do there, right? And with self-storage, you're renting a small style warehouse unit. There's no bath, no kitchen, no hot water heater, one roof, one HVAC if you're in a climate-controlled self-storage. And my self-storage that I've had in College Station for 6 years, I have no restroom, I have no water. I have a water tap there, it just hasn't been tapped yet, and I have a gate. And the other things, the only thing that's gone wrong with that is the gate. I'm going to put a new gate in there whenever I expand. So you have nothing that can break for the most part in all of these asset classes. Where in a multifamily, you got a hot water heater, an HVAC, a roof, et cetera, that can cause damage and decrease your NOI.